are you guys in the on both campuses, TNEC and Madison?
We're actually split. We are on both the Madison and the TNEC campuses. So BAP is a singular organization, and we have proctors from both campuses.
Okay. Very cool.
We also have, we are open to anyone outside of BAP through the Accounting Society. I'm not sure, do we have any, John, any Accounting Society members today?
We do have Gloria. She's a freshman, so she's not actually part of BAP, but she is an Accounting Society member.
Yeah, what is BAP like? You have to wait 2 or 3 years and maintain a certain GPA, right? I'm trying to remember from when I was in it.
Yes, you're right. 1.5 years. So like your first semester as a freshman, as a sophomore rather, sorry, you can become a candidate, and then your second semester you would be a full-fledged member.
Right. Yeah, I was in BAP at Seton Hall, so
nice.
Just trying to remember.
Okay, let me just make sure that there are. Okay, there's nobody in the waiting room. Are you guys waiting on anybody still?
I don't see Chris, and I still
Chris
haven't.
is not joined.
Yeah, and I still don't hear anything from Bill. Let me.
Yeah.
Let me shoot him a message.
I mean, I think he can hear us. Okay, Chris has just joined, or he's joining. Okay, Chris is here. Hi, Chris. I don't see Chris's mic.
Oh, there's Bill.
His mic is there.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, all, everyone.
No, Bill's here. Perfect.
And now I can hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yep.
Making progress.
Excellent.
And Chris joined. I'm not.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Sorry, my wife had a call till 4:45, so.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Right, so we can get started.
That sounds good to me. As long as if you guys are ready, then I think everyone else is ready.
Okay, awesome. So first and foremost, hello everyone. Thank you so much for signing up to attend the EisnerAmper virtual information session.
Thank you for coming.
Before we get started, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Jennifatu Crowther, and I work as a senior in our audit practice out of the New York office. I am also joined by my colleagues, Maurice Beaino, who is also a senior in audit and is based in our Islip, New Jersey office, Christopher Stoop, senior manager in audit, who also works from our Islip, New Jersey office, and William Yahara, who is also a director in tax and also works in our Islip, New Jersey office. We will be facilitating this information session. We will start our agenda today by first speaking about the WHO and EisnerAmper. Next, we will speak about the virtual tour, followed by giving you all an overview of campus recruiting. And lastly, we will end the session by giving you all the opportunity to ask questions.
All right, hello all, this is Chris. I'm gonna take us through the Who is EisnerAmper as part of the presentation. So just a little background about myself. You know, I'm a senior manager in our audit practice, and I work primarily on manufacturing and distribution clients and real estate and construction, both private industry and public clients mix. But we'll get through a little bit more background on just what EisnerAmper is, and then we can we'll leave room at the end for questions for any of us. But just a little background into who is EisnerAmper. So if we want to go to the next slide. So we're one of the premier accounting firms in the US. We have almost 1,900 employees and over 200 partners. We provide audit, tax, and advisory service to our clients. We're one of the mid-sized firms. We're top 20. So we're not the big four of KPMG, EY, Deloitte, or PwC. But we're not as small as some of the niche firms that have the small specializations. So we're kind of in that sweet spot right in the middle. Our offices are located, and we'll get through that in a little bit more detail too, but New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and California. And then internationally, we're in the UK, India, Singapore, and Ireland. So, and we have office space also in the Cayman Islands. But we have solid presence in both the financial service practice, including private equity funds, venture capital funds, hedge funds, and broker dealers. And then we also have a large commercial practice as well. In addition to that, we're a part of the Lineal Global Network. And as part of that, we're part of an independent accounting consulting firm network, which we can provide additional access and worldwide access to wealth of integrated resources. So what that means is being part of the Lineal Global Network is because we're not in all these locations where our clients might be located. You know, for example, I have a client that has 13 different warehouse and distribution centers throughout the US for inventory observations as part of our audit testing. We don't always send everybody from our New Jersey office to some of these individual sites. What we'll do is we'll reach out to our Lineal Global Network members, and they'll help assist us with performing inventory observation counts, because it's a little bit more, it's cheaper instead of having flights and hotels and rental cars to have a staff just go from, you know, a member firm to do the count. It saves time and expense for the client and for us. So there's just a little bit more coordination on the back end. All right, if you want to go to the next slide. So we've had tremendous growth over the past decade. I've been with the firm a little over 13 and a half years at this point. I also graduated from FDU. I got my BS in 06 and my MS in 07. But, you know, when I started, I was on the Amper Pilot Senior Matthias side, and we merged with Eisner about 3 years later. And then from then, we've had smaller acquisitions, but we've had a lot of internal growth as well. Our growth has really allowed us to deepen our expertise in specific industries, you know, whether that's financial services or real estate. And we use this new expertise as a way to kind of deepen our relationship with our clients and provide additional services. So for example, last year, one of the mergers that happened was with IK and Resig, and that brought fund administrative services back in. So into our portfolio practices, so we can actually assist clients, help prepare and close their books and records for audit prep from a fund administration side. So we have over 1,800 colleagues, 19 offices, 18 states, and we're in 7 different countries. The next slide. So when we're going through EisnerAmper, you know, we try to have a strategic location when we're growing our presence and our expertise. Our national practices work closely and collaboratively across all of our office locations so that we can provide the best service and expertise to our clients. Like I said earlier, we're in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, and Texas. In India, we have 2 different offices, Mumbai and Bangalore, as well as offices in Israel and England. And we have affiliate locations in Ireland, Singapore, and the Cayman Islands. And those 3 locations are currently comprise our branding of EisnerAmper Global. In terms of service areas, you know, we all have our focused niche. So there's a mix of audit, tax, PBS, which we call private business services, is PBS, consulting and litigation services. But from there, we branch out into the various different industries and service lines that we all work on. And, you know, that's kind of the great thing about accounting in general, is there's not one industry that doesn't need accounting. So, whether you're on the audit side, the tax side, the PBS, consulting, litigation, all these industries have different specialty niches. So if you're really interested in sports and entertainment, or if you're interested in financial services and funds, technology companies, we can really kind of focus our efforts and work on those industries. As a new hire, an intern, the goal is to give the staff, the early seniors, as much experience as possible in a wide variety of industries. So that way, as the company, as you gain more experience, you can start to specialize somewhat in certain industries that you find that you're more comfortable in, or you're just more interested in. When I first started, I think I hopped from industry to industry for the first couple of years, and then I got involved in real estate clients and a lot of manufacturing distribution clients, and it kind of just stuck with me. That's my main portfolio of clients to this day. That's probably what I spend 85% of my work on. I have a couple other smaller, life science technology companies, healthcare industries, but those are more one-offs. I really kind of enjoy the manufacturing distribution. And in the U.S. anymore, it's more of a distribution space than an actual manufacturing space. But there is some of my clients that still do manufacture things domestically, in the U.S. and not purchasing from overseas. But it's kind of few and far between now. Most of the stuff's being produced overseas and shipped to the U.S. And then real estate, my mix there, kind of runs the gambit. I have small office storage buildings, hotels, and hospitality, which as a result of COVID right now has not been great for my hotel client mix. Occupancy, obviously, in hotels is the driver and key metric for revenue generation and performance. And as a result of the pandemic that we're all going through, travel has been obviously severely hampered from a business travel perspective as well as personal travel perspective, because not everyone's comfortable with that. So where my clients over the summer, depending on their operating locations, might average historically, between 85 to 95% occupancy levels, they're hovering down around 40% right now on a good day. So that's really been a hamper on them, which brings in other specialties that we have at the firm to kind of leverage from a resource perspective, whether it's consulting practices and helping negotiate amendments to their loan agreements with the lenders for forbearance of interest payments and debt payments and covenant reporting compliance. There's a lot that goes into it, and to be able to pull resources from these different mixes has really been beneficial to the client. And that's why, it's always good to expand your network, not just, with your own engagement team that you'll work on at EisnerAmper or, any public accounting firm, but also you want to expand that network internally as well. If you have a tax specific question or something from a litigation valuation perspective, you want to always have, those people on standby, and that way you can kind of get back to the clients as fast as possible. So for the next slide. So this is just a breakdown of a few of our larger clients. So we do a lot of work on the film credits, actually. So that's why you'll see a lot of the Columbias here and DreamWorks and HBO's, MTV, VH1. So we do a lot of work there. Steve Madden is one of the larger public company audit clients that we have, but we also do work for the NBA. So that, it's kind of a very popular engagement team to be involved with. Not this year, we're not traveling as much, but there is, every team gets a visit from an EisnerAmper audit team that will come out to do some specialty reporting for the NBA. As part of their consolidation packages and financial reporting. So it's pretty popular. The work is usually happening right around now, late summer or early fall, and it tries to wrap up right before busy season. But, as you can see just from the list of a few of these clients, we have a lot of different clients and a lot of different mixes that you can work on. They all comes in all different shapes, sizes, and structures. Both from a U.S. GAAP reporting perspective, potentially on the financial statement side, or from a tax return perspective, which, you know, Bill can get into a little bit more. But, you know, there's a lot of different tax reporting roles depending on the industry, space, nexus issues, et cetera. So, you know, my kind of favorite clients over the years have you know, been the real estate clients, just because I've got to see the development of these properties and occupancy levels and revenue generation grow year over year. But, you know, I also worked on a large construction company for years. I was on the audit for over 6 years, and I got to travel internationally for 6 weeks a year. So I racked up a lot of frequent flyer miles with United, who's, you know, still never really on time for their flights, unfortunately, but I get to keep the miles. So it was kind of cool, because it was a way when I got married 5 years ago. You know, the honeymoon was the flight for the honeymoon was free, because I had my miles from all the travel for work. So there's definitely some advantages. And, you know, if you're interested in travel and wanting to see the world, I mean, I've been to cool places internationally. I've been to cool places in the U.S., and I've been to random places in the U.S. that I never thought I would, like Prattville, Alabama, for example. I was at for a 2-day visit for an inventory observation. So there's a big mix there. And the variety is kind of what keeps things interesting in my mind, because no day is ever the same, because I'm always working on different clients, different industries. And that's what, you know, kind of keeps me on my toes, keeps me interested, and keeps me engaged, because I'm always learning something new. And I think with that, we're going to go to the virtual tour, and Maurice is going to walk us through.
Yep. So I guess thank God for Hill then, Stoop, right?
Yeah. So it was, you know, it has his ups and downs, so it was good.
All right, guys. Again, my name is Maurice. I'm a audit senior in the Island location, and my clients have mostly been around the automotive industry and insurance, non-for-profits, and actually a pharmaceutical public client at one point. The last year, a lot of my time has been in the automotive industry. It's been a lot of learning going on there, and a lot of fun, and working with a big team, actually. And it's actually been eye-opening since graduating, and it's been a great learning experience, and kind of puts everything that you've learned during school into perspective of how important it is. But off that, we really wish you guys would have been able to come and visit our offices, whether it's in the New York or the New Jersey locations. But the best we were going to be able to do today, because of COVID, is kind of show you what they look like through some pictures. I can tell you from experience, as we return to our offices, that everything's kind of been wiped down very well, clean, and Eisner's done a great job in keeping us safe as a company for anybody who has decided to return to the office, with hand sanitizing location, social distancing, and just making sure everybody's on a rotational schedule that fits them. And it's been great. So let's move on to the next slide and kind of give you a background of some of the locations that are nearest to us, except for Cali, obviously. But so here are some of our newer offices. We have our San Francisco office that's, I believe opened 2 years ago when I first started with Eisner in 2018. We have our Island/Metro Park office, which is probably closest to the Madison campus for you guys. And then we have our Philadelphia office that's also open within the last 3 years. I've been there myself. It's beautiful, lots of great views, state-of-the-art technology, open floor plan. And from what I've seen, there's a lot of, it doesn't really make you feel so cluttered when you're there. It's been great seeing all the offices that we have. I mean, I've been to New York also. We recently decided to move our New York office location across the street from where it is, and we've spent a lot of money and time renovating the office to fit the New York lifestyle, with the open floor planning again, and even better views. So you can see some of our meeting spaces on the next slide. And that's one of the training rooms that we have. It's kind of where you guys would all meet together when you start, whether as an intern or a staff or however you come in as a director, senior manager, whatever. This is where your training will take place. In the Metro Park office, that's where our entire EisnerAmper onboarding takes place. And that's a great opportunity to learn how Eisner operates, whether it's the technology wise, scheduling wise. And it's a great place to network and meet other people who are also starting with you, and gives you a good foundation of people who you could reach out to, whether it's for figuring out a cash question, accounts receivable question, or any new area that you're unsure of. Instead of maybe feeling nervous about reaching out to your senior on the job or the manager on the job, you could reach out to someone who started with you, who you're more comfortable from onboarding and training, and get that answer. And in these meeting spaces and training rooms, this is where you're going to start to learn who you can go to for these situations. And if we go to the next portion of the slide, you'll see our actual office meeting rooms and conference rooms and telephone rooms. These smaller ones in the middle and the bottom right corner, that's kind of more maybe of a interview type room. I've actually done some work in the Philly office. That's where most of these pictures are from. And some of these in these rooms from the times I've been there, all the technology is there. That's where we can also meet with clients via phone and talk them through where we're at on the audit, or ask them about any questions or for support or anything that we need. And then we can get to see where you guys would be working as a staff or a senior manager, however you come in again on the next slide. So these are our workstations. The only difference between the two areas are actually, there's like a little bench that the managers get that's used for extra storage underneath, or a seating spot when they're going through client work with the seniors or staff on the jobs with them. So I've had some great sit downs. I've even had sit downs with Chris over some of the jobs we were on together, and it's a great way to communicate. We have great technology there again, and we got dual monitors with the docking station. So you have plenty of room for your Excel worksheets or PDFs, whatever you guys need to look at to go through support. Eisner is great with giving you all that you need to get the job done in an efficient manner. Next slide, please. So these are some of our common areas and kitchenettes. This is where we celebrate birthdays for the month, where during busy season, this is where they'll bring, before COVID, they would bring lunch and breakfast for everybody and get your coffees or whatever you need. You can see some of the other areas that we have, and if you hit next, Jen, please. So we've got some coffee areas. We got the printers that you need when you're to print out all those financial statements and tie them out. A lot of the offices have a gym where you could work out. I mean, that's obviously a walking desk. I actually haven't seen that. I'm guessing that's either going to be in the New York office or in California, where they like to do that stuff.
Probably San Fran or
yeah, right. That's definitely not in New Jersey.
Not in our New Jersey office.
I'm not sure what the bottom one is. It kind of looks like a doctor's office, but again, I haven't seen what's going on there. So we can move on to the next slide. Sorry about that. And here's just some of the views that you'll see. Believe that's all Philadelphia. It's great. We're right outside the Rocky Steps in Philly. So I remember before I left that office, I made sure I ran up the stairs after a long day to get a little exercise in. So that was fun to do. And I mean, I never felt really like claustrophobic in any of the Eisner offices, which was a great thing, because I mean, it's hard to be going through a day of 8-hour workday for work and then just feel like you're stuck. So there's plenty of time, space to just walk around, talk to people, and enjoy a good view, and kind of take a minute to clear a head and then get back to work. So that's The offices are been beautiful. I haven't heard anybody complain about an office, and I'm excited to see the New York one, and I hope you guys get the chance to see them as well. I believe that'll take us up to recruiting. I believe, Bill, that's on you to walk us through.
That is me. Thanks so much, Maurice. I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Bill Yahara, as was alluded to earlier. I'm a tax director within our financial services group. I deal primarily with private equity type and hedge funds. I have over 15 years experience in the alternative investment space. Our space is a little unique in that, yes, it's all hedge funds, and yes, it's private equity type entities. But what we do and what we see a lot of times is a lot of our hedge funds and private equity type funds have different strategies, which keeps it kind of exciting because you're never just doing the same thing. As Chris, he alluded to earlier. You don't ever want to get to the point like where you feel like you're doing the same thing. Your career gets very monotonous, and you're not really learning. Or Chris also said, how you kind of branch out and you learn and you speak to people and you meet different people throughout the firm. And that goes both internally and externally, so we also have that on our side of the fence. But a fun fact about me is I started with EisnerAmper in June. I went through the interviewing process like many of you will be hopefully going through. And I can tell you it was a great experience. I went through and I spoke to probably 4 or 5 different people, and I spoke to a lot of people in my service line area. And essentially, it was up to me to ask good questions too. Like I would, I think you should ask good questions on the way in, but I really want to know what I was going to be doing on my way in, who I was going to be working with, right? And trying to get a lot of those questions up in front. So I think your goal is to, really make sure that you come with some of those questions and just be ready, because the interviews are really, it's a great process, and, it's for your benefit and our benefit. Next slide, please. So in addition to our onboarding and interviewing process, a great resource that we have here at EisnerAmper is our EisnerAmper University. And, I can't tell you enough how important this is, because you get resources, you learn, you train on the job. Additionally, if you're a CPA, you're studying for your CPA, we have live courses that are available. And we do that through our Audit College, Tax College, Leadership College, Executive College, and Private Business Services College. Our in-house university is responsible for the development and facilitation of technical and non-technical courses. A lot of these courses you can take on your own in your own free time. A lot of them are required as well. But it's really up to you, and not, up to us to a certain extent as managers to manage you, but also, for you to kind of take control of your career, right? So we offer these courses, and you can go in there and you can take, any course, as long as you, you're working with someone that's flexible, and you also are taking care of your business when the business is there. It also assists professional staff to meet their annual CPE requirements, and it's a personalized and unique learning and development planning opportunity for all of you. In this respect, I would consider that this makes us a great rival with anyone. This is a resource that cannot be taken for granted. I have friends that are in public industry, and I can tell you right now, some of them are short on credits. I have a CPA, I'm from New Jersey, and I have 120 credit requirement plus 4 ethics that I need to get. I'm just about done. Thanks for great programs like this where I could take them through EisnerAmper, and I just think it's really important. I have friends that are probably still behind like 80 credits, so it's a resource that greatly needs to be taken advantage of. Next slide, please. In addition to our EA University, we also have additional learning opportunities. Some of them include our EAU Technology Certificate Program, which is a 3-year program that is available for our colleagues to pursue. It focuses on business intelligence, data analytics, and emerging technologies. It ensures that your employees can stay up to date on industries and continue learning and development. EisnerAmper employees also have the accounts with LinkedIn Learning. I've taken LinkedIn Learnings to kind of catch up on some of my CPP when I joined. When I joined, it was a great time to kind of do this. You know, I was going through our required learning requirements, but sometimes you need a break from that, and I knew I needed CPE, so I can go to LinkedIn Learning and catch up. So it's there, it's available for us, and it's at our disposal. You know, so we should take advantage of these programs when we can. Another important point about EisnerAmper, we offer CPA reimbursement for our full-time employees. The firm will reimburse CPA exam courses. The firm has direct bill agreement with many vendors, including which I know many of us have heard, Becker. They were around when I took my CPA exam. I'm not dating myself, but that was a really, really long time ago. The company will also cover the exam application fee and the fee for each part of the exam taken one time. Employees are given designated paid time off to study and sit for the exam. After passing the CPA exam, employees will receive a bonus. Now, I think that was a great opportunity for anyone looking to start with EisnerAmper. I remember, and I'm going to date myself now here a little bit, but when I took the exam, there was 4 parts, and I had to sit for them in 2 different days, back-to-back days. I was lucky enough to do 3 or 4 my first time around, and had to go back for financial accounting and reporting. I missed that one by 8 points my first time around. But what I can tell you is, you know, CPA is really, it's a tough exam, and you know, I think you got to really manage your time really well. Just communicate with your managers, you know, your seniors, other staff that are working on the account with you, and you know, you can get plenty of time to study for the CPA exam with us. Next slide, please. EisnerAmper embraces diversity and offers a safe, collaborative workplace where culture, ideas, and experience come together to create new solutions. Our affinity groups include Black employee affinity groups, Asian employee affinity groups, Out and Equal groups, and Women of EisnerAmper. It's very important, you know, this brings us together. It preserves as equality in the workplace. And, you know, we're up to date there. We're doing a lot of work in the area, and I think it's a great place to work, and there's equality throughout the firm. Next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, we're hiring for all of the positions that are listed above. You can apply for any of these opportunities on Handshake. And the next slide will take you through some important dates. We advise that you apply for any of our positions as soon as possible. We are having first round on interviews in early mid-October, and we will be having second round interviews in mid-late October. We make offers on a rolling basis, and our goal is to have all our jobs and internships filled by December. Next slide, please. Here we go. So here you'll see all of our contact information. And, you know, one thing that I would like to really point out is that the great thing about all these programs, right, and LinkedIn, you take that for instance, right? There are many social networks available for us, and I would really challenge you to take advantage of these social networking. One of my favorites, and where I spend most of my time, is LinkedIn. And as a professional, you know, you're going to get to hear more about LinkedIn. You know, we already told you about our courses that we could do through LinkedIn, but it offers so much more. And I get to see what my colleagues are doing with their careers. There's job opportunities. You know, you can touch base with anyone in industry. You can touch base with both new and old clients. You can touch base within our financial services practice. We deal with a lot of like fund administrators, so we can kind of see what they're doing, touch base with them, you know, see if any of their clients are struggling on any tax areas or audit areas. We find out more about both internal and external events. You know, being new to the firm, there was things that I was finding out through LinkedIn the first week, and that was because everything kind of like wasn't caught up. But then I was like, I'd reach out to, my buddy that took me, that was my buddy the first week when I started. And I was like, hey, Jeff, what do we know about these programs? Is something I can get into? And, he was like, oh, yeah. How'd you find out about that? I'm like, I saw it on your LinkedIn page. But, it's LinkedIn is something that you definitely want to really, chime in on. And, what's really important is that it's all for free. So why not take advantage of it? And my challenge to you is to reach out to each and every one of us and try to connect with us after our meeting today. Thank you very much. And, I think that right now is a good time for to take any questions that anyone may have.
While we wait for questions, I'll just mention for the CPA exam, it is a bear of a test to get over with, but I recommend to all of you, while you are in school and you're used to taking tests right now, get the test over with as soon as possible. You're used to taking exams. As you get more and more experience at work, you're going to get more, busier, and life starts to add up between, potentially marriage and starting a family. So as you get a little bit older, not trying to age myself either, but you do have a lot less time to sit and study for the exam. So while you're used to it, do it, get it over with. You should come up with a plan in terms of when you want to stage out the tests. Once you pass the first part, you have 18 months after you pass the first part to pass the remaining 4. I'm also on the board of trustees for the NJCPA State Society. And if you guys are not involved with the NJCPA State Society, please go on their website. It's njcpa.org. Student membership is free, so there's no cost to sign up. And once you sign up for the student membership, they have a lot of exam testing tips and tricks, networking, resume writing skills, and workshops that they do virtually, especially now as a result of the COVID pandemic. But it's another easy resource to kind of expand your network with others, in the similar demographic and age group that you might be in. And it's a good resource outside of what EisnerAmper obviously would offer as well. But it's something you can get a leg up and get something started on. But I highly recommend and stress to get it over with. I took my last part. I only failed one part, and it was audit, and that's what I signed up to do. So it wasn't really a good omen for.
Wait, Chris, did you take all 4 at the same time?
No, I
don't want to date you, but
I know I was lucky where I only had to take one part at a time. So I started with the financial accounting, which is all your accounting theory classes 1, 2, and 3, all rolled up in one test. So that was the one I did first before I started. I started in June. So I got that first part done, and then from there I started taking the other tests, and I was done by April. Before, less than a year after I started, and I have not taken another test since then. I don't really plan on taking another test since then. We're all required to do our CPE credits, and I do those. I help teach some of the EAU trainings, but I don't plan on taking any more exams because I don't want to. And now that I have the CPA credential attached to my name, I don't ever plan on doing anything to sacrifice that credential. So it's a huge resume booster. Whether you're in public industry or private industry, depending on, your career path and how things go. But it's something I would stress to get over with as soon as you physically can.
I actually have a question.
Go ahead.
So as a staff one, when you first start working, how does it work with figuring out what industries that you want to work in?
So when you're hired, the goal of our scheduling department is to get you a little bit of experience in a a large variety of industries. So when I first started, I worked. When I first started, I was during the Sarbanes-Oxley first came out, and I was doing a lot of control testing and internal audit functions. Then I went to an insurance examination for the state of New Jersey that we were outsourced to do. I worked on insurance, manufacturing, distribution, real estate, life science and technology, not-for-profit. I did 401ks. So that's, they want to try and give you as much experience in a large variety of industries as early and often as they possibly can. And then as you gain more experience, because as a staff, you'll spend the least amount of time as a staff on any engagement, because as you gain more experience, you'll need more time on engagements. So engagements will start to roll off your schedule once you become a staff 2, and then a senior, and then a manager. It kind of starts to reverse itself again, because now as a manager, you're not doing detailed testing anymore. You're kind of overseeing and reviewing the work papers. But the goal as a staff is to get you as many industries as possible, whether it's commercial, financial services, and then branch out from there. And then if you really like real estate, financial services, manufacturing, distribution, you just bring it up to your mentor, your buddies. And then we have internal networking groups as well. I'm part of the manufacturing distribution group. I'm part of the real estate group. And we have meetings once a month that we go to. It's usually for an hour. Now it's all electronic, but they used to be in person before COVID. And it was a good way to, meet with people outside of just the audit practice. I would learn things from our tax group in terms of, things that came out from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and certain, reporting requirements changing there from the real estate side specifically. But the goal when you were first hired is to try and get as many industries as possible, and then you can go from there as you kind of move up the chain.
So Jonathan, yeah, that was a great question. I would just add that, like a lot of industries, there's compression periods, right? So you have times like, say, financial services, for example, on the tax side, we have really important deadlines around 3/15, 4/15. Another one would be around 9/15, 10/15, 9/30. So a lot of this is like figured out depending on what industry that you would be in. So a lot of that's open to, communicating or having your buddy that you're assigned to your first week. And, if you get to the point like where you're not really busy in the industry that you were signed up for, you got to keep open lines of communication with your buddy. And then also you'll have HR that you can keep open lines of communication with. And then it's up to us to kind of, have you see other areas and stuff.
Great, thank you. I also, if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I have another one. So how do you guys think that Eisner's going to how do you see just not necessarily Eisner, but the whole accounting industry kind of change with COVID? Do you think it's going to be more of a hybrid scenario where it's going to be work from home as well as going to the office, or do you think it's going to be one or the other?
I think you're going to see a lot of it be remote. A lot of it was already starting to turn remote when I started a couple years ago, but with COVID, I mean, our clients are not always comfortable with us coming in. Some of the staff at Eisner aren't as comfortable going to a client. Like I said, I mean, I felt comfortable going back into the office, and Eisner's done a great job preparing the office space for us to return to should we wish to. In terms of the industry, like I said, a lot of things have already started going virtual because of being able to provide supporting documents through a share file site or a client portal, which we use. So it's gonna, even without COVID, it was probably going to end up being more working from a remote standpoint, whether it's working remote in the office or working remote from home, just because it saves us expense going to the client and saves the client expense having to pay for those travels.
Yeah, I would add to that too. I mean, the firm has made significant investments in technology over the last several years, which made us well positioned to transition all colleagues to work from home. So we're well positioned in that area, and it's something that we were all able to take advantage of. And I think we work well within our groups and as a firm. Jabber, and we could still train. We could shadow each other and go through the whole training process. So You know, I thought, you know, if I take up to my 9:15 busy season, it's a very busy time for partnerships. I think I had maybe a half hour during the whole season, like where I actually had some kind of interruption because of, you know, network. And I'm not sure if it was here or at home, you know, but I think the firm recognizes that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one thing I really love about the firm is its flexibility, especially during COVID. Just to give you an example, so because I work from the New York office, so our office is closed right now because we're in the stages of doing construction, and it may not be open until late October or November. But even until then, we don't even know if we're going to return back. And one thing the firm did that I really appreciated was they gave the employees basically like a reimbursement for some of, like, let's say if you needed to purchase some office supplies. I had some colleagues that needed like a second screen or like a mouse or something, just so that it would be more comfortable and more efficient for you to work from home. They provided that to us. So I just wanted to add that point as well.
Yeah, and finally, just you know, I think the hybrid work versus full time in the office, I think it's going to be hybrid or mostly remote for now. You will see, depending on the industry you work in, you know, what some clients are a lot more technologically advanced than others. I would say most of my manufacturing and distribution clients, they like to you know, they like to keep the lumberjack business you know, in full steam ahead because they don't see anything on paper that they don't want to print out and store in filing cabinets. It's very antiquated. But that's now started to change as a result of the COVID pandemic. They realize they can't be so paper-based, and they're starting to update their ERP systems and their applications that they use, so that way they have more remote access to do things, you know, from an electronic review perspective and initiation and approving transactions. So I think it really will depend on the industry that you're working with, but for the most part right now, all of our clients are, at least in my situation, are mostly remote still. They'll go to the office for a day or two a week, just for a couple of hours for things that they need to do in the office. But most of our clients have been telling us to stay home, stay away. They'll upload the documentation to our client portal, where as long as we can get on the internet, we really have no issues accessing it to go through and review. There is a lot more phone calls, I would say, than there was in the past when we used to meet in person. It was easy to just show your screen to the client and say, here's what I'm seeing, you know, here's what I need to see, and here's what the information is missing. That's a little bit more of a challenge, and it requires more phone calls and communications. So staying organized and maintaining those open items lists, those detailed question listings, those follow-up items and points is very critical at this point in time. It's always been critical, but even more now, because the client might think they have everything provided to you, but they might have given you 70% of what you asked for, but that final 30% is what you still need to finish your testing. So I think it's, you know, kind of important that you have those open lines of communication with your clients. And, you know, going through email is fine, but a phone call to the client will close things down so much faster. And I know sometimes it's, especially as a staff, it's intimidating talking to a client. But you know, you'll build a greater rapport with a client on the phone or in person when we're allowed to go back to the offices and visit the clients again than you do via email. So I always stress, try to get to know the clients. You don't always want to be, hey, here's what I need to complete our testing. You know, find out what's going on with the client and, you know, what they did on the weekend and establish a rapport with them, because the more you can relate to your client, you know, will pay dividends in the long run, because they'll be a friend / client for life. You know, whether whether they're currently working, they might bring you in to their new employment. So I think it's important that you stay on top of your clients like that.
Hey, I just had a fast question. I wanted to see if Quinn Javalosa was available, recent intern with us. I just wanted to see if he could share the story.
Sure.
So, my name is Quinn Javalosa, and I was a Flex Audit intern in the New York office past summer, and I just accepted my offer again for next summer. EA has been my dream firm since freshman year, and it was really exciting to be part of the firm during the summer, and the internship was not canceled. So even though my internship during the summer was non-service line internship. I still got to network with a lot of HEAs. We call them HEAs, Humans of EisnerAmper, from all the offices, even the Dallas, Texas office, and also our Miami office. So it was really an eye-opener to be able to know the lifestyle and how job satisfaction from the CEO, from the directors and the chief officers that we networked with during the summer. And again, I also have some few notes that I would like to share, that my experience was a really great learning experience, because EisnerAmper offered us interns the LinkedIn Learning for free. So we get to get certified in LinkedIn and really study and get certificates for Excel for us to better our education. And also we had a buddy or an ambassador during our internship. And for the service line internship in the future, you'll also have a buddy who is a staff and as well as a senior who will guide you through, if you have any questions and with your work as well. So having that support system within my internship, during my internship, was really a great help. And again, it has been an honor and amazing experience to be part of EisnerAmper.
Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, I was a Flex ambassador this summer. It was definitely a different experience, doing this program, because normally we have a lot of interns in over the summer working on client information, and we couldn't do that obviously as a result of the pandemic. So we got creative and had a lot of different meetings and service line industry updates, and we talked to the top people at the company as part of the Flex internship, from our CEO Charlie Weinstein, Jay Weinstein spoke, Lori, Diane Wasser, you name it, they were all involved as part of the ambassador program. And I've always felt that EisnerAmper, you're never just a number. The partners, directors, managers, doors or cubicles are always open to come bounce questions off of. I think that's part of the benefit of working for a firm like EisnerAmper.
Want to open it up for further questions from our audience?
I do have a question. I know that the New York office had to read the Setting the Table book. Is the New Jersey office have to read that as well? I know it's Charles Ornstein's favorite book of all time.
I don't recall having to read that as an intern or a staff 1 or 2.
I don't think it's required. I think it's recommended. Let's put it that way. So, but yeah, Charlie loves that book and loves the story. It's if you don't have time to actually read a book, there's always Audible. You can listen and learn that way.
I'll have to add that to my reading list.
There you go.
I guess just one last question to kind of sum things up. What would you say personally, what experiences have you guys had that separates Eisner from other firms?
I mean, I've been with Amper Policy or Mattia, which turned into EisnerAmper, my whole career. I have a twin brother, also an FDU grad, that works for another mid-sized regional firm, Cohen Resnick. We don't really talk too much business. We try to step away from the computers when we get together. But I think all the firms have, special programs. They all have the after busy season parties and holiday parties. But I think the thing that I've always enjoyed the most about EisnerAmper is the people that I work with. In all of my years with the firm, I can honestly say there's only 2 people at the firm that are no longer at the firm that I never really enjoyed working with or for on my engagements. And even with that, all I had to do was talk to my mentor and buddy about saying, I'm really not comfortable how, this manager treats me, or whatever the case may be, or how they approach this engagement. And as soon as I brought that up, we finished the engagement, but for the following year, transition plans were made and we didn't have to have that anymore. But I really do, and the thing that I miss the most about being in the office or being at the client together is the working side by side with the entire engagement team. I'm old now, so I learn all the new shows to watch from all the younger people like yourselves. My son watches Disney Plus pretty much 24/7. So if I get to watch anything that's on Netflix that's like, PG-13 or higher, I'm all for it at this point. It's kind of sad. That's the highlight of my life sometimes. But I really do enjoy the people. I think, as you go through your interview process, I always say to everybody is, you got to look at the firms that you're interviewing with as a complete package. It's not just the compensation and the benefits, but it's that warm and fuzzy feeling. Do you think you're going to get along? Do they have a good corporate culture? We have volleyball teams, softball, co-ed softball teams, kickball teams, dodgeball teams. We do, a lot of different events together. I feel like all the staff and seniors, especially as you move up the chain, do trips to AC together. And, obviously with the pandemic, we can't do a lot of those things right now, but you do get to learn a lot about your peers and coworkers. And you work side by side with them for a lot of hours. So, especially during our busy season. So I think no matter what you want to do, you want to make sure that you enjoy the people you're working with, because you're going to spend a lot of time with them. So I think that's important.
Yeah, if I can piggyback off of Chris with that. I mean, being a recent grad, and one thing that separated Eisner from the Big Four for me is that I felt like a lot of Big Four, they held on to that title like it was like a make or break, and I don't believe that for a second. I mean, all my internship experience going up into my EisnerAmper internship has always been with a smaller firm. I came from a government accounting background. I did a tax busy season for a small, like, independent firm with one person who was a CPA and for the entire firm. And so I've had a bunch of smaller experience, and that's when I've learned the most. And I have friends who went Big Four, and some of them have enjoyed it. Some of them, like, I don't even know like anybody's name on my team. So you're going to hear it a lot through all these type of recruiting events, culture, people. It's never been more true than from EisnerAmper. I mean, from the interview process, I fell in love with that type of the culture that we've provided, and the way that everybody at Eisner presents themselves in an accepting way and a curious way and an honest way. They never felt like they were just asking how my day was just to be polite, but so they can ask me a question. It's always because they honestly care. And Chris, Mandalorian, if you're busy, once the kid goes to sleep, it's PG-13 and on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's true. I can venture into something other than the Toy Stories and Moanas and all those. So
I also wanted to add, besides the people, which is super important in the culture, is the opportunity for growth for your career. One thing that Eisner did for me, because my background's a little different, so I started in private accounting before I came into public. And when I started in public accounting at Eisner, I started in the tax department for about 2 years, financial services, and then transferred to audit to our financial service practice. So I've seen both sides of the fence, which is really cool. And I would say one of the biggest things I really appreciate about our firm is the way that they helped me transition really easily into my new role when I did transfer into audit. And then the fact that, because I have some friends that do work for Big Four as well, in terms of audit, I've pretty much ran through the audit from the beginning, from planning to doing like the substantive testing to the end of the audit, whereas some of my friends at Big Four have only been focused maybe on one account, like just seeing cash, for instance. I've seen everything. I work with mostly, like I said, funds, so like investments and stuff. That's what I would usually see like on their balance sheet. I've had the opportunity to, if I have like an idea and I want to present it to like a partner or senior manager, I love the fact, and Chris already spoke about this, it's an open door policy. So I'll give you an example. I was on a really big private equity fund. That's one of my busy season clients. And I came up with an idea to make one of our testing processes more efficient. So I went to my senior manager and I was like, hey, I know we've been doing it, for these, certain amount of years. I was like, I think I found a more efficient way to do this. And my senior manager was like, Jen, go right ahead. and they gave me the leeway, and I did it, and then I presented it to the senior manager and the partner, and they loved it. And I think that's super important, that you have people that are in your corner, that are not just supporting you, but that are also pushing you, you know, for your growth, for your career.
100%.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess not.
Well, you have all of our contact information in the deck. You can connect with us on LinkedIn or send us a message. We'll be more than willing to, you know, if you have questions about EisnerAmper, about the interview process, information's on Handshake, as we said.
I think I
sorry?
connected my headphones, and I think my mic was off this whole time. I apologize. I did have one question. Just real quick. What's the difference like between wealth and asset management versus capital banking and capital markets versus insurance? Since you guys are all auditors, would you be able to touch on that real quick?
I think it depends on. I don't do a lot of the fund work. Like for our insurance client mix in New Jersey, you know, we have some, you know, wide variety of different insurance coverages between home, auto. You know, we have physicians coverage, you know, workers' comp. There's different coverage plans, you know, all those things depending on the level of invested assets and level of written premiums, depending on the state, will require an audit from the Division of Banking and Insurance that needs to be reported on a stat basis. But you know, from a fund perspective, there's difference between the private equity, and maybe Jen can walk through that a little bit, and Bill, because I don't work on the financial service space, but it just depends on the reporting and requirements there. We don't do a lot of with like the banks and lending, you know, from like a Santander specifically type bank or Chase Bank. But you know, Jen, if you want to walk through the fund space.
So in the fund space, most of the clients that I've worked with, again, transferring from like tax to audit, I mostly work on private equity funds, but we also have hedge funds as well. And I think one of the main differences, of course, is going to be like the type of strategies that they hold. And I believe William talked about that earlier. Besides that, you'll also see like the investments that each of these funds are invested in. In hedge funds, you'll most likely see them invested in like securities that are traded in the stock market, which is pretty cool. Whereas in private equity, like most of the funds that I deal with, some of them they're called level 1 investments that are traded publicly, but then a lot of the private equity funds have portfolio companies, and those are your level 3 investments, which are private. So I think those are some of like the differences that you'll typically see within the funds. And I'm not sure if I answered your question entirely.
No, you did in part.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
If anybody else has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm sorry, I've been talking this whole time. I guess my mic was not working. All right, going once, going twice. Okay, thank you, Jen, Bill, Maurice, and Chris. We are very thankful that you guys came in, presented to us, and answered our questions very thoroughly. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them right now. All right. So if not,
good luck, everyone.
Take
care.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Thank you very much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.